This is our fourth press conference, and already we've been seeing the buzz in the media and social media and all this kind of thing, in so much that there was a minister on some program, out of his head about economic plan. And I will certainly look forward to debating that minister or his leader, or any leader, past or present, on the economic plan, on our plan that we have indicated at one of those press conferences. But today we deal with youth. And as mentioned before, the leadership, when something fails, it's the problem with the leadership. And leadership must accept responsibility. For too long, we have leaders who fail to accept responsibility, and they come another time around, ask for your votes, and they get the vote. It has been more than 5 decades since independence, and we are not better off than we were prior to independence. 5 years after 5 years, the same theory will create 50,000 jobs. When they go in, there's no job. They would elevate the health care. When they go in, the public hospital is the same as it was before. Even I went into the men's department there, and it's horror there. No AC, no proper ventilation, no proper airflow. Who designed those buildings? So you receive a grant from the IDB. The technical input wasn't made to say, look, let's design it the way a hospital is supposed to be designed. So we spend our money unwisely year after year because we trust those people. For too long, we have been dominated by 2 ethnic parties. And the functioning of those parties, you have to start, you'll start at a low level. Then you will be promoted based on your loyalty. You take newspaper, you carry news. That's how you promote yourself through a party system. When they got into government, they give jobs to their supporters only. The rest of the country is left behind. The choice for Guyanese today in March 2020 is to say no to these political parties, vote on the basis of principle, not on the basis of ethnicity or the failed promise all over the past. And therefore, we are asking that we be given serious consideration because they have been tried over the past years. Their economic plan has failed. Their social plans for youth have failed. Guyana today is the poorest in our hemisphere after Haiti, and that says a lot. Our per capita income is quarter that of Little Antigua, and that says a lot. 80% of UG graduates migrate to other shores, and that says a lot. How long? When will we say enough is enough, that we can go no more and stop voting on the basis of ethnicity? But today is about the youths, and not very much more I would want to add on what was said before about the problems confronting our youths today. I would like, however, just make a few brief plans, outline a few plans that Change Guyana will bring that will address the problems of youths today. I will start by quoting the preamble to our Constitution made since more than 4 decades ago that addressed the objective of youth empowerment. And it says the aspirations of our young people who, in their own words, have declared that the future of Guyana belongs to its young people, who aspire to live in a safe society with that respects their dignity, protect their rights, recognizes their potential, listens to their voices, provides opportunities, ensures a healthy environment, and encourages people of all races to live in harmony and peace, and affirm that their declaration will be binding to our institutions and be a part of the context of our basic law. Now, when you read this, what has happened since then? What about this statement or this goal has been achieved so far, what we see is a mere posturing when it comes to youth policy, or having youths in a little group discussing some ideas, and after then, no implementation, no meaningful outcome. That is the problem of today. We don't even, as Nigel said, have a ministry of youth, culture, sports. They are all related, youth, culture, sports. The role of sports in developing our youths. There's been lack of substantial investments and business growth over the last 5 decades since independence, have fueled underdevelopment and has affected youth the most. So what we have, youths are being tokenized to create a show that there is some participation, but there is yet to be meaningful programs to address youth development in Guyana. The most important thing you could give somebody is give them the ability, empower them with the ability to able to sustain themselves, to build a family, to buy a house, to buy a car, to send the kids to school, to have enough to eat and drink, to have a happy life. And today, we have not done that, basically, and it reflected in the migration out of Guyana, both youths and adults alike. And it's mainly because we haven't developed the country economically. Year after year, governments after governments have failed to create wealth because of the fact that their development strategy is that you must have a big government. We have so many ministries, and we can calculate how much it will cost us to run this government, and then we work backwards and tax the population. High taxation does not create jobs. It removes jobs because high taxation affect investments. Over the last 5 years, there have been little or no investments in the economy. Business is down. Yet we expect this year $239 billion in taxes when we collected $216 billion in taxes last year. As Nigel said, in 2014, we collect $145 billion. This is what I refer to as state extortion of taxes. And that's the main problem, that the level of taxation would not encourage investments. Without investments, you can't have jobs. Jobs is only created with investments. And we're too rich a country to be put in this situation. Now, I list a few points, but there were some of them were articulated before that affect youths. The lack of jobs, no high-paying jobs. Being educated and not finding jobs because the curriculum is out of sync with the development needs and direction of Guyana. 40% unemployment among youths, mass migration, UG graduates, 80% leaving our shores, difficulty in accessing financing to start a business or to develop in any kind of entrepreneurship because of high interest rates, stringent collateral requirements, which create strong barriers. This in itself retards development and deplete any form of middle class in our society. Youths are indifferent to politics because of the failure of leadership of the past, both PPP and now APNU. This state of affairs takes a toll on the psyche of our youths, resulting in a host of social problems, including crime, suicide, depression, social decay, etc. Now, at Change Guyana, our goals, we set a few goals, including make youth employment and entrepreneurship a critical component of our macroeconomic framework, make schools and university curriculum more market-driven and responsive to the needs of the economy, incentivize wealth creation by reducing extortionary level of taxation, which results in economic underdevelopment that is pivotal to job creation. Focus on expanding job creation in technology, emerging sectors of oil and gas, as well as traditional sectors. More balanced development across all regions, not only in Region 4, that will lift rural communities out of poverty and rekindle the hope of a better future for all Guyanese. Nigel had mentioned that the taxes are collected in Region 4, collected all across the regions, only spent in Region 4. We visited East Berbice the other day, as well as Linden, and you will be amazed at the level of poverty, the depleted infrastructure, the lack of jobs. You have youths all around sitting, wasting themselves because there are no jobs. Our motto is to create those jobs, accelerate economic development, and through that, uplifting everybody. And once somebody has a job, there's no incentive for crime. There's no time for crime. A lot of the social problems are really the effects of an economic decline. And unless we address the economic problem in Guyana today, we can't move forward. We will stem the tide of migration of UG graduates by creating jobs through an expanded economy. We will promote national unity and pride by restoring confidence in the integrity, openness, and accountability of government, found lacking for a long time. Right now, youths have no confidence in government because of the level of corruption, the economic mismanagement, the system that creates discretion, and you have to go to a minister for everything rather than setting the rules in legislation so that you don't have to go to a minister. All these factors impede investments and results in joblessness. Our policy is to incentivize job creation and skill development. We work with employers, all expenditure on training, development, community centers, anything to uplift the community and make workers' participation in management more effective. We will provide incentive, fiscal incentive to those activities. All cultural programs, etc. Tax incentive built into educational collaboration programs between large businesses and technical, vocational, and university institutions will be adopted to ensure graduates obtain a smooth transition into business employment. So we have a plan for youths, and it's based on the strongest foundation possible through economic development by creating jobs. We'll also have a very strict program of education, reform, and skill development. Currently, a lot of our institutions are out of sync with the requirements of business. We have to ensure more technology, more emphasis on technology, more emphasis on mathematics, on engineering, on science, as well as the arts. So our curriculum needs to be adjusted, needs to be reformed so that it blends more with the needs of businesses. We will pay special attention to youths living in poverty that are vulnerable and disadvantaged by providing equal opportunity as regards training and vocational education. Where necessary, new technical and vocational centers will be expanded to reach rural areas in partnership with the private sector. Government Technical Institute and the Board of Industrial Training will be expanded regionally rather than only in Georgetown to allow easy access by youths in our rural and hinterland communities. We'll access, through accelerated development, we will attempt to keep our UG graduates staying in Guyana. We'll also, as Nigel referred to, expand sports and recreational facilities. We'll have that Ministry of Sports, Ministry of Sports and Art and Culture, and a lot of emphasis. It will have a strategic plan to ensure that we engage and empower youth in a very meaningful way. Another area we also felt necessary is the involvement of youth in leadership. Youth engagement programs would serve the young people both domestically and internationally. Change Guyana plan is to develop our youths to meaningfully engage in advocacy platforms locally, nationally, and internationally. And as much as possible, we will integrate youth's development in our program so that we provide the leadership ability, because youths are the leaders of tomorrow. And if we allow our youths to leave all the time without engaging them in decision making, then we cannot hope for a strong country. Conclusions. Investments in youth development is an integral component of our economic plan. Exemplary leadership at all levels, but most importantly at the top, is essential in inspiring youths to achieve their best in a racially diverse and cohesive society. The ethnically dominated politics of the PPP and APNU and the tribal divisive behavior of their leaders cannot be more disruptive to youth participation in our development work. Their economic advancement is crucial to their stakeholder status in Guyana, and they're remaining here instead of migrating. Giving youths a seat at the table is pivotal to nurturing and preparing them for their role as leaders of tomorrow. Addressing the economic underdevelopment problem of the past 5 decades is the only way of lifting people out of poverty. This means better pay for police, teachers, nurses, and all of Guyana. This is the only way of dealing with crime and other social issues confronting our society today. In the present context, this has to start with the electorates. You either vote race or vote for development. Vote for honesty and integrity, and vote for a strong economy. There is no other way. Ladies and gentlemen, many thanks.
Well, thanks for that inspiring presentation. I would just like to supplement a few points that I thought needed to be touched on because they are so fundamental to the development of our youth. We need to provide funds on a proportionate basis to the national associations. The national associations, by and large, are comprised of people playing different sports, and most of these persons are youths. And we have a lot of fund that is being used in a very arbitrary manner. And there is no fixed allocation for each of the national associations so that they can build up a proper structure where they have an actual executive and they can implement programs. They can bring the youths together from various communities and strengthen the involvement of youth in sports and youth in development and training. So the latter fund needs to be disconnected from political maneuvering and favoritism. We also need to incentivize partnerships with the national associations and the business sector to fund, promote, and host sporting events as part of good cooperative governments boosted by tax credits. And we'll use that word quite often, tax credits, because we see the tax as a cornerstone, using the tax reform measures to boost economic and social development. They say luck is when preparedness reach opportunity. We have so much opportunity, so much abundant natural resources, but we seem unprepared to utilize them in a way that would benefit Guyanese, comparable to what takes place in Trinidad, Antigua, St. Lucia, Little Grenada, and all those other islands. We are always trailing, and this needs to change, and it needs to change quickly. So Change Guyana has come up with bold plans to address these deficits in our governance. Now, it's important that each of you listening and who are here and who've come in small groups or even individually get together and share our message and help us reach more people across Guyana. And many will say, well, it's a new party. But I recall Obama during his 2008 victory in Iowa, speaking of the critics saying, they say it could never be done. They say this day would never come. And they say we were too divided and disillusioned to ever rally around a common purpose. And this is a common purpose we have, to accelerate and have inclusive economic development in Guyana. And we can build a momentum, build a movement, starting with individuals, starting with small groups of people that can energize this country and reduce the disunity, reduce the divisions that exist, that have been so harmful, that, you know, Marvin spoke of my involvement in sports, and I remigrated around 2012, and I became the president of the GABF, and it's a personal story, but I'll just touch on it slightly just to make the point that with all the big budgets and the money set aside for the National Sports Commission or the Ministry of Social Cohesion and Sports and Youth, it's not being spent. Where it goes is, you know, probably even the Commissioner General of GRA can't answer that. But you had to spend personal funds on putting lights on Burnham Court. Can you imagine that? Individuals doing that. Spend personal funds on upgrading the National Sports Hall. These are national treasures. Spend personal funds on putting lights in New Amsterdam at the Vyman Irving's Court. Putting stands at Mackenzie Sports Club just so that our youths can participate in sports and keep them away from alcoholism and idleness and wrongdoings. So it really takes an individual effort and us coming together around a common purpose to change policies that have undermined the development of Guyana, that has crushed the hopes of our youths, and has led to this extreme poverty that prevails in Guyana. And the poverty, of course, is more pronounced among our young people. So in conclusion, I'll say Change Guyana has identified 3 key areas for youth development. We have to invest and incentivize programs for youth development. We must build a society that is safer and nurturing for our youth, so that they can reach their maximum potential and enrich the lives of our youth. That is to give them hope and aspiration and enable them to become educated and responsible Guyanese. So I ask you individually, in little groups, and those who are hearing us from Rimawini to Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo, across to East Borbis Quarantine, or down in Region 8, that this message is for all Guyanese, and we ask you to join Change Guyana and let us make the right choice to move Guyana forward. Thank you.
Good morning. I welcome the opportunity to endorse the Party for Change in Guyana. We need change. And a little bit of that comes with hope. There's change. Prior governments have mentioned change, but we've never seen that change materialize. I have hope that that will happen. And that's why I've decided today to endorse the Party for Change and to give them my full support. I believe strongly in technology. I believe it's been something that's been keeping us behind. And you know, the thing about Guyana is that we're a small ship in the ocean. We're not a big ship. There's 800,000 people, 750, whatever the number is. We can turn around pretty quickly. One area I saw in Guyana that I really was impressed with is our cell phone adaptation. Because in America, we had landlines with AT&T, and it was a big technology company. We rip it apart, and we created 100 other companies. That's how the Googles and the Comcasts and all of them get born, by ripping AT&T apart. I don't know why. We keep talking about tearing up the Exxon contract. Let's tear up the GT&T contract first. Okay? We don't have the flexibility for call center and high-speed internet. Youth development is employment. Don't train someone and don't have a job for them. You're making them more frustrated. Youths, that's what I'm telling you. We have to take back our country. Take it back from the politicians that have been running this nation and not giving us the opportunities we depend on. Health and education opportunities. Key. We've got to keep our kids healthy. That means between the age of some factor there, free health care should be available for our youths. Capacity building and advocacy. Okay? Our youths need to have the ability to speak up and to be involved in the activities of government. You know, contracts, if a contract needs to be signed and has to be confidential, it's not worth signing. There's something called a sunshine law. Wherever the sun shines, that contract must be seen. If you're going to sign a confidential contract, it shouldn't be for military assistance. It should not be for anything else. It should be visible, so our youths can see and render their input also. So kids, every time your parents tell you something and the light goes out, you pull out the light bulb and ask them. Change, Mom. Change, Dad. We voted for change. Okay? It's not about, and personally do it every time the light goes out, because blackout happens frequently. I've had 7 blackouts this week. Okay? So you pull out the light bulb, Mom, Dad, time for change. Change party. Vote for the change party. Get involved. Look at what's happening around the world. Hong Kong, the youths are taking back their country. Chile, the youths are taking back their country. Colombia, the youths are taking back their country. That's happening over the last week. Look at the paper. It's happening. We Guyanese just stay dormant, stay in a hole, and accept everything the way it is. Time for change. Time for change. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. That was an excellent speech from the table thus far. And today's topic is basically about youth and youth development. Why change Guyana? Well, before we get into it, let me just give you a background on myself. I'm 32 years old today, so today is my birthday as well. So this is significant to me because for my birthday this year, I would never envision I would actually be playing a part in not just creating history, but actually moving our country forward. What has been lacking for so many years, and I've actually been a part of the electoral cycle for about three times or so, and what has been consistent on all ends is a lack of youth development. If you have the time to research Mr. Badal's success story, that in itself would inspire, I believe, the entire country, more so the youth. Mr. Badal is a success story of hard work, perseverance, and preparation for opportunity. These are the models and traits that we need as young people as we enter into a new area of development. Take a look at this, young people. If we have oil bauxite that was invented recently, and it's very depressing. If we have all of these resources, rice, sugar, with a small population, it's very logical that we have a decent, an average growing economy with opportunities and enabling environment and whatnot. But it's not that. These leaders have no plans for us. They'll say, we want jobs, right? But there's no environment that enables for jobs. And I know for a fact they do know this. But they treat us with total disregard and they neglect our voice because they know that 9 out of 10 students leave the university every graduation. They go abroad. They know about the brain drain. They know about the youth crime, and they have these initiatives in place. What do they care? There's never been an active follow-up on any youth activity. It's launched, we get the dressings and whatnot, and people are hired, and it falls there. I could go on and on about the failures of the leaders that we have had now and before in terms of leadership, but I don't have to. I look around and I see it. And what I would ask young people, we need to come together. We need to unite. What Change Guyana offers are solutions. They're solution-oriented. How could we deal with the rate of the university students leaving? What can be done? Why are young people depressed? Why are young people, they're having these mental health issues? All of it can be tied to our economic status. Right now, if you really want to look at the numbers and whatnot, and Mr. Badal will expand on this, but what I'm saying to you, youth, that we have a plan, and nobody else has had a plan. Nobody else. We don't have a national youth policy. So there's no guidance for the youth in how we can move forward. There's nothing to be put in place. And we at Change Guyana have that. And we've been working tediously. We've been inviting several young professionals. Our youth movement that we have launched is a youth movement filled with young people that represent the true meaning of what it is to be Guyanese. And I believe that's embodied by Mr. Badal. As the oil comes in, I would like for everyone again needs to be as successful as Mr. Badal and Mr. Hines. That could only happen with the proper management. These guys are businessmen. These guys are not politicians. These guys are rich. These guys are successful. So now I've asked myself, why would rich, successful businessmen decide to go into politics? It's quite clear. It's lacking. It's lacking, and these men care. There are many other great businessmen that we can call, but they have not made themselves available for us. These guys have made themselves available for us, and what they have to offer us as a group of people are actionable ideas. We have been failed because these people keep promising us year after year after year. And if we don't make this decision now, as we enter into the era of oil and that big natural resource in Guyana, our youth will be washed away. We've already been disregarded, but we'll be washed away. So I take this opportunity to ask everyone involved to join our Facebook page, like it, Change Guyana, and you can also, if you see me out, you can also ask how you can be a part of a youth movement and how you can change Guyana. So my name is Marvin Ray, and I endorse the Change Guyana campaign.